Hey, yo. Y'all need to chill with this end of service crap. Because I'm telling you right now, Faye is not going into end of service. You may have all this mountain of evidence and nonsense that you're posting about, like, oh, look, Choose Your Legends votes have fallen off. Or, oh, look, this and that. Oh, look, power creep. Dude, Fire Emblem Heroes, think about it. It's currently the only game that Insys has right now that's giving them any sort of revenue. It's what's putting bread on their table. Do you think they're just going to cut the plug on that? Or pull the plug on that just because people are crying about end of service? Or, oh my god, Baldur won Choose Your Legends. Or like all this nonsense? No. However, I think what all of these evidences that you're posting is actually a sign that they're trying to improve the game and get it on a better track than it is currently. So, Jade Epic P posted this on the subreddit. Faye is dying and I'm serious. Alright, let's see about that. I know this sounds a bit doom posty, but I genuinely think we need to have a conversation about how Faye as a service and game is heading to its end. I don't see any signs of that, honestly. Maybe there's declining, but it's not gonna... Do you understand, like, what Faye is for them? Faye took over what Cypher was. They ended Cypher specifically to continue on working Faye. Or continue working on Faye, which... their plan for Faye is to have some kind of in-between releases for main titles. Which the last one we had was Engage, and who knows when the next main Fire Emblem game is coming out. People are expecting it to be FE4 remakes for the Switch 2. And that could very well be the case, but when is it coming out? I don't know. Do you know? Because I don't. So, up until that point, they need to keep Faye alive to continue keeping interest in the IP and keeping a steady influx of income for the dev team and so on and so forth. Faye is not going anywhere, right? Okay, a lot of factors can lead to this. Diminishing returns, poor influx of new fans from Engage. Why is Engage always put on the back burner for that? Like, what is people's beef with Engage, man? It's just like 3 Houses players that just fucking hate Engage, and I don't know why. Like, bro, get off your soapbox. It's not that bad. It's not that big of a deal. All right, lack of genuine brand synergy between 3 Houses and pre-3 Houses Fire. Yeah, this guy is obviously a 3 Houses fan. Look at this. Hates on Engage, glazes 3 Houses. That's a clear giveaway. Poor decisions both mechanically, monetarily, and advertising-wise. Advertising is a big issue. They don't really do a good job advertising the game. Remember when Brave 1 came out and we had that little, like, movie where there were really bad cosplays of Ike, Roy, Lynn, and Lucina? It was like some Asian guy was playing Ike. And the cosplay did not look very good. But remember that, though? Like, that was an interesting way to advertise the game. They did it up like it was a big production commercial. But we don't get stuff like that anymore. So, yeah, I mean, they don't do a good job advertising the game or promoting it to newcomers, which is one of the reasons why we don't really get newcomers. But the game just isn't at that level it was even 2 years ago. I don't know, man. The game has felt the same ever since. There was a certain drop-off point. I don't remember when. Probably around, like, Book 5. I would say, like, Choose Your Legends 4. Hot off the heels of the release of 3 Houses, where... I mean, 3 Houses, it's... You say whatever you want about it, but it did attract a ton of players to the series, and was very popular on Twitter for discussion, which is like self-advertising the game. There wasn't really much discussion about Engage because the story was very clear-cut and concise. It didn't have like any of those intangibles or loose ends that 3 Houses had that led to a lot of the Twitter discussion, which is self-advertisement because people are going to go on Twitter. They're going to see people talking about this game, 3 Houses, and arguing like with pitchforks and torches and all that. And they're going to be like, oh, I want to play this. I want to see what all the fuss is about. So, like, I think that more than anything is the reason why 3 Houses was able to sustain itself, is because maybe even inadvertently to the dev team, the game was just constructed in a way to promote discussion about it. So, like, that is self-advertising. And if Insys doesn't want to advertise the game themselves, that comes onto our shoulders. So, yeah, there was a drop-off point, I thought, around, like, Book 5, where it didn't really feel the same as it did prior. All right, CYL 9 is a clear sign of the fall of the game, and primarily how the lack of real heavy hitters to keep the votes, and therefore advertising of the product itself alive, has impacted the overall influx of people contributing to them. I think it's mainly just, like, Choose Your Legends feels a bit redundant at this point. Like, the event itself, I think we can go ahead and retire it. Like, all of the popular characters have already won. At this point, it's just a, like, meme fest. Like, characters like Baldur and Gulveig and stuff are winning now. Like, that should go to show. Because, like, what was it? 3 out of 4 slots were occupied by Fire Emblem Heroes this year. And people are very mad about that. But you got to understand, all of the big hitters have already won. Like, Ike won already, Roy won already, Lucina, Lynn, Eliwood, Hector, like, all of the big names have already won. So we don't really need to continue doing the Choose Your Legends event. I think they could probably repurpose it into something more interesting. Okay, I was mainly in the mix-up to Choose Your Legends 6 and somewhat for Choose Your Legends 7. I organized one of the big server campaigns for Tiki. And really, after that year, it's just gotten worse and worse. Now, this is normal for most games like this, but we're at the point where our number ones are struggling to achieve 15k votes. Mainly, like, look who took first place. Ectordeer, I mean, he's cool and all. I don't have anything against him. I'm actually pretty glad that he won. His story was cool, like how he was on the bad guys team, but he wasn't really evil. If you remember in the story, I think that's one of the reasons why people really liked him, is because he's kind of like Bruno, actually. If you guys remember Bruno from early Fae, how they offed him for no reason, that's basically Ectordeer. He's a buff dude that everyone likes him, and he's kind of tragic where he's on the wrong side. Like, he doesn't want to be on the side that he's on. So, like, that, I think, is what gave him a lot of popularity. But 15k vote, like, that's not a good sign. Had Edelgard been on this shit, obviously she would have had, like, 40k votes. So, I don't think that's really a sign of interest in the game falling, but just interest in Choose Your Legends falling. Okay, I mainly want to bring this up because I think it's important to discuss as not only a community, but fans who most likely have to put our money into the game. And I think it's important to be aware of the reality of its potential shutdown, clarification on Engage 3 Houses thing. Engage sold okay, but it didn't bring a lot of new fans into the game, at least compared to the absolute titan that was 3 Houses. And usually this would be fine, but the problem is that Engage, I feel like, hasn't had an impact on the fandom in terms of getting new people into it. Well, like I said, it's because 3 Houses was like a self-advertising game, and Engage wasn't, where people are talking about 3 Houses even now, but there's not really much to talk about Engage because it was very neatly packaged, and it is what it is. Like, you play it once, and you get the experience, and you're done. What would have really went hard for Engage is if it had a New Game Plus, because I played my first run and my only run on Maddening or Lunatic or whatever the hardest difficulty was called. It's very tight on experience. Like, it's hard to build and keep up with and to maintain your entire barracks when you're playing on that difficulty setting. Literally, enemies will spawn in with an ability that means you cannot gain experience from killing them. So it was really tight, trying to, like, keep your team concise, and like, you would have to ditch characters midway through that you wanted to work on because someone better would come in to take their place. Like, I remember I was using Yunaka early on, and then as soon as I got Zelkov, I just ditched her. And the same can be said for a lot of other characters too. Like, better replacements just come in as you're playing the game. So it was hard to maintain and, like, build up characters you liked and keep them, like, going and in the running. Had Engage had a New Game Plus, I would have liked it so much more. I would probably still be playing it to this day because I would have wanted to build everybody, get them all their passive skills from the rings, grind SP, and, like, do all of that stuff. But there wasn't really an outlet to do that. So it's just you do your one run and you're basically finished, unfortunately. And the story was very clean-cut, too. It wasn't like a 3-way story like 3 Houses. I actually prefer that Engage was one story told from start to finish, as opposed to 3 or 4 or 5 stories like Three Houses was, and not told to a complete finish, like told to a very abrupt finish where you're left to the imagination to figure out what happens next. I don't really like that. I didn't like it. I mean, people hate that about Fates. Fates should not have been 3 separate stories. And I don't think Three Houses should have been either. So, like that, I'm not really a fan of. But it does work. I'm not going to say it doesn't work. Because as we saw, like I said, it is self-advertising. Okay, so it's an anniversary game, and because of that, it's a very good Fire Emblem game. Of course it is. Dude, the gameplay and the mechanics, the Engage mechanic in Engage was like some of the crispiest gameplay we've ever had in a Fire Emblem game. And most Fire Emblem fans picked it up. Problem is, with these types of games, is after launch, they either rely on relaunches, like big restarts, or either material to bring new players in, because over time, the existing player base often outgrows it, and I don't think Engage did a good job of that. Also, like, the DLC for Engage all came out right away. Like, they didn't split it up into, like, seasons or... Well, they did split it up into seasons, but it was like a 1-month wait period before the next DLC would drop, up until the game had every bit of content in it, and they just ended it. Whereas Three Houses, I think there was a little bit more of a leeway period between... like Ashen Wolves and all the other DLC that Three Houses got. So, yeah, Engage seemed like it was more of a flash in a pan. Like, they kind of wanted to just get it over with early. I can't say why that is, but that's just what happened. Okay, for comparison, Engage had 1.61 million in sales, and that's even lower than the 2.37 and 3.9 million from Awakening and Fates, respectively. Okay. All right, and by my Three Houses comments, I need to stress I really love Three Houses. Oh, you don't say. I would have never guessed. It's fundamentally different of a game from many other Fire Emblem titles. Part of that is a byproduct of the Switch, but there are a lot of fans who are just fans of Three Houses. Yeah, that is true. It has a similar effect to Persona 5 in that way, where while some will branch out to the other titles, a lot of them are just fans of the Three Houses sub-series. This isn't a comment on Three Houses' quality or enjoyability, but just that they have core differences which lead to a different in-brand synergy, especially with a series as much of an anthology as Fire Emblem. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with what he's saying. Three Houses was popular. It's got its own subset of a fan base, separate from all the other Fire Emblem games. Wouldn't even be uncommon to hear people say they just played Three Houses and they didn't play anything else. So, yeah, I get it. Okay, but do I agree with the end of service thing? Not really. I mean, they just recently did the survey, too, so we're going to go ahead and transition into that now. Now, one weird thing about the survey is this. So, McSilas says, a survey about the survey, just wondering what the spread of users who were given a survey link is. Personally, I'm given one. I'm based in Australia and know of people in Europe without the link. But someone in Southern America was given one too. Okay, that's how you know this guy ain't American. Southern America? That's not how we call it. It's just South America, not Southern America. So trying to work out if it's region-based or are user habits a factor, like Fay Pass, frequent spender, non-spender, etc. That could be. Like they may be wanting to see input from paying players as opposed to non-paying. I base the locations based on regions of Nintendo website, yada yada yada. Okay. Left out Japan, but I mean, we don't need to add Japan. We all get that they are going to listen to Japanese input. Europe, but not given a link. Just grabbed a link off someone else. But I've heard this too. Everyone's link is unique, so because it's tied to your in-game ID. So when you go into the bulletin board and you see a link to the survey and you click on it, that link is specific to you. Like that's not going to be applicable to other players. So make sure you don't share your link to other people with the survey. All right, yeah, not too many replies here, but I would like to see what the votes are. Maybe if I vote here, we can see. All right, yeah, so mostly people in America got links, but people in Europe did too. So it's not like everybody in Europe did not get a link, which I find to be interesting because it seems like a lot of European players said they didn't get links. I'm not sure why that is, or maybe it was like specific countries in Europe. But yeah, I can't comment one way or the other because I'm in America and I did get a link. All right, is this over dramatic? Yeah. Please don't let the game die. Again, I reiterate, guys, I don't think we're going into end of service. I think what it is just a reform of Fae. They're trying to, like, keep the game in a healthier state than it is right now. Probably even try to get an influx of newcomers in. Now, it wouldn't be hard for them to do that either. This guy over here talked about, like, how maybe Fae Pass buyers and frequent spenders are possibly the ones who ended up getting the link to the survey. All they got to do, man, is if they can find a way to attract more newcomers into the game and then also have a better way to incentivize the Fae Pass, I think that alone would be enough. So the Fae Pass is, what, $10 a month? Right now, the content, I'm not a fan of the content in the Fae Pass, which is why I try to avoid getting it as much as I can. The only reason I'll ever get it is if I need to spark on a banner. But they could totally make the Fae Pass better in a way where I would rather buy the Fae Pass just for the Fae Pass than just to be able to spark. So what they should do with it, all of the content in the Fae Pass that is quality of life, like the auto start and the ability to spark on certain banners, that should be available to everybody. And in its place, what they have to do is put content in the Fae Pass that people really want. So stuff like Ascended Florets, I think like you get one Ascended Floret every month for the Fae Pass for either buying it or from those weekly missions or like bi-weekly missions. They can keep the Resplendent alts in the Fae Pass too, but I would actually like them to have a way where free-to-play players can also get Resplendent alts. Like maybe they could introduce like a new mode where, like a co-op mode or a PvE mode or something where you can actually win like tickets for buying or redeeming a Resplendent alt of your choice. I think that would be cool. That would be interesting. But really what they need to do with the Fae Pass is turn it into an Orb Pass or like some kind of premium pass where, okay, maybe let's say you buy the Fae Pass. On day 1, you get 10 orbs. And then every day for that month that you log in, you get an additional 3 orbs as a login bonus. So 30 days a month, 3 orbs a day. That would be like 90 orbs plus 10 from buying the Fae Pass. That's 100 orbs a month. I would absolutely buy that every month. Because it's only 10 bucks. Like that, like a really good discounted deal for orbs, I think would be awesome. And that's something... Dokkan does that. Dokkan has that exact same thing. And why do you think Dokkan is frequently topping sales on the App Store? It's because they take good care of their players. They have really good sales and things like that. So it would not be difficult at all for them to like refine the Fae Pass in a way where people want to buy it. And then at the same time, like they don't have to dick over the other players. Like still allow everyone the quality of life features like auto start and sparking on every banner, like I said before. That would go a long way, and then all they got to do is find a way to attract more players into the game so that more people are buying the Fae Pass. And that's it. That's all they have to do. Literally all they got to do. Okay, let's keep on. So now we're talking about the voting numbers for Choose Your Legends 9, which, as we can see here, you can see, like, Choose Your Legends 1 obviously was the peak of the game. Well, I personally thought 4 was around the peak of the game, but interest was waning in Fae itself. Maybe not so much Fae the IP or Fire Emblem the IP yet. So yeah, the first 3 Choose Your Legends, also, I mean, those were the only ones I personally cared about, because by the end of Choose Your Legends 3, all the characters who I wanted to win ended up winning already. Like, I wanted Ike to win, I wanted Lucina to win, I wanted Hector to win, I wanted Ephraim to win, like, Micaiah, like, all of my people won within the first 3 Choose Your Legends. So ever since that point, I haven't really cared. I didn't even vote a single time in CYL9. I'm not going to cap you guys. I did not vote once. So, yeah, I mean, seeing these numbers, it might look like a cause for alarm or something, but I don't think it's just, like, waning interest with the game or anything. It's waning interest with Choose Your Legends specifically. Because, again, like I said, there's not really any standout characters that haven't won, besides, like, Sigurd, who I still can't explain how he hasn't won yet. But you got to also understand Sigurd is from a Japanese-only game that most people probably haven't even played. And according to what we're hearing most people who played Three Houses probably didn't even play Engage either, so they didn't get exposure to Emblem Sigurd. So I don't really think too many people care about Sigurd outside of Japan, and like maybe a small subset of the community. Okay, these are the numbers. Yeah, we just took a look at an actual bar graph and line graph, and yeah, we don't need to keep looking at like votes for Choose Your Legends. We get it. It's on the decline, but I think they need to repurpose the event itself, because A Hero Rises does better. I'm pretty sure like more people are invested in that, because that leads to an actual banner with a bunch of characters that we want on the banner, and we can vote for a character everybody wants to win for free. So like that would be a more interesting event to actually take a look at numbers for, I would say. A Hero Rises as opposed to Choose Your Legends. Yeah, and that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about today. Is just the people crying end of service. They always want an excuse to do that. It's been a thing. It's a thing in every gacha. If you've played any gacha, it's always, oh, end of service. Oh, one thing goes wrong. Oh, end of service. They just love to spit end of service out. And then on my survey video, too, we had a couple of people talking about end of service. I did make one mess up, though, on my survey. On the final question that they asked, I just, like, this is what they said. Include a message to the devs of Fire Emblem Heroes. I thought they just wanted to, like, would you like to say something nice to the devs? That's what I thought this meant. But, no, I think this was where they wanted you to tell them, like, what kind of updates and improvements you would like to see for the game. That's not the way that I took it, by the way it's worded. So look at my response. One of the most dumbass responses I could have probably wrote there, unfortunately. But it is what it is. I mean, it's not like I didn't mean what I said there. I just wanted to talk about PvP being too shoehorned, and we need some more PvE. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Do you think Faye is heading into end of service? I don't think so. It seems like they've finally come to the realization that Fire Emblem Heroes is their bread maker. So, in between releases of mainline games, they really need to keep Faye in a better and higher standing position than it's in right now. Which is why I think we got the survey, and why I think the 8-year anniversary is looking significantly more friendly than the other ones were, with like more orbs, more tickets, the Binding World Forma, and stuff like that. They're trying to keep player interest, player happiness at an all-time high. So, yeah, let's see where they go from there. They can only stand to improve from where the game is right now. So, keep your eyes peeled, and I will catch y'all again on the flip side.